Hi Haley, my name is Rachel Hoffman. I'm a student in physical therapy and I'm going to be working with you today. Can I confirm your name and date of birth before we get started?
Yeah, Haley Spolarich, 9/10/1993.
All right, thank you. So today we're just going to be assessing the strength that you have on your big toe. Does that sound okay with you?
Sounds good.
Perfect. Okay. So for these tests, we are doing great toe flexion and extension of the IP joint. So for the first one, we will focus on extension of the great toe IP. So the very first thing that we want to do in testing the extensor hallucis longus is stabilize the proximal phalanx on the sides of the proximal phalanx. And we're going to take her through the passive range of motion by moving the distal phalanx up into extension and assessing how much passive motion is there. Now, once that I have assessed that motion, I'm going to have the patient do it themselves as I stabilize and palpate the tendon of the extensor hallucis longus. And that's going to be on the dorsal medial side. So go ahead and I want you to go from a flexed position of this part of your toe and just bring it up towards your face, okay? There we go. So I can feel a contraction there. So that's, we know it's at least going to be up there on the MMT scale. So now I'm going to have you hold that position and I'm going to try to push you down by pushing on the dorsal aspect of the distal phalanx in the direction of flexion, okay? I want you to resist that motion, all right? So don't let me move you. And hold. Hold, hold, hold. Perfect, so that was for extension, and now we're going to do the same thing with flexion, but in the opposite direction. So the stabilization is still the same. We are still on the lateral aspects of the proximal phalanx. We are testing the flexor hallucis longus muscle. And so I will go ahead and take you through that motion to see the passive range that's available. Then I'm gonna go ahead and have you do that. The palpation, we'll actually work on this, but the palpation for it is, for the tendon, is going to be just distal to the medial malleolus, but above the substentaculum tali. So I'm gonna go ahead and, once again, holding the ankle in a neutral position, I'm gonna stabilize the proximal phalanx as I go ahead and test the passive range, and then I'm gonna go ahead and feel for the tendon as I ask you to go ahead and take your toe and bend it just like that. Perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply resistance to the plantar portion or aspect of the distal phalanx in the direction of great toe extension of the IP joint. So I want you to go ahead and hold that position right there for me, and I'm going to push up and don't let me move you, okay? And go. All right, perfect. So for this test, we want to have the patient either in supine or in sitting. If the patient was in sitting, I would be supporting her ankle and foot on top of my thigh. And for grading of the test, we have a 5, which is differentiated from a 4 based on the amount of resistance that you get. And then a 3 is where you can move the entire toe against the range or against gravity in the full range of motion. 2, since there is no gravity eliminated position, would be just moving it through partial range of motion in the against gravity position. And then a 1 would be, I feel a palpable contraction, but there is no movement of the phalanx. And then a 0 would mean I do not feel any of the contractions or movement within the toes muscles that we are testing. And thank you, Haley.
And your scores for flexion and extension were both 5 out of 5, which is the highest score, meaning you could hold it against maximal resistance.